This video is sponsored by Squarespace, an all-in-one platform that makes it easy to make an amazing website. Hey guys, it's Max with Max Tech. Apple just released the latest developer beta of iOS 13, and inside of it, we have our first chance to test out the Deep Fusion feature that they showed off at the launch of the new iPhone 11 and 11 Pro. This is supposed to enhance detail and merge multiple photos together. In this video, we're gonna be comparing the standard Smart HDR shots to those taken with Deep Fusion. Along with that, I am throwing in some shots from the Note 10 Plus to see how much of a difference this new computational algorithm is going to make. Along with that, I'm gonna show you how to know if Deep Fusion is actually working, because Apple's making it incredibly difficult to know. There's no icon that turns on, there's no metadata info, nothing like that. And with certain situations and scenarios, and even with certain lenses, it won't work at all. And lastly, I'll show you one feature that you have to make sure you turn off, because with it enabled, Deep Fusion will not work at all in any scenario and with any lens. So let's jump in. Here's our first shot taken in lower light with the standard lens. And just from this kind of wide shot, it's hard to tell any sort of a difference, even from me. But if we punch in, one thing I notice immediately is the color temperature. Along with that, we have less compression artifacts, and the detail does look a little bit sharper. Now, if you're watching this on a smartphone, on a small display, or at like 720p, you might not notice any difference other than the colors. So make sure you're playing back at a high resolution, preferably on a nice monitor. Here's our second shot here, and this one is also taken with that 26mm standard lens. And just at a glance like this, it is hard to tell the difference. I mean, I see a little bit more sharpness in the salt lamp right there, but if we go ahead and punch in, bam, that is when we start to notice the difference, both in the salt lamp, especially in the background, a lot more detail, and along with that, with the camera as well. This shot is taken with the telephoto lens outside. It is quite bright. One thing you have to know is if you're shooting outside and it's really sunny, there's a good chance Deep Fusion won't work at all. In that case, Smart HDR is what takes priority to increase your dynamic range. So if I shot this with the standard lens, Deep Fusion would not work, but with the telephoto, it did work. And if I go ahead and punch in here, there's really not that much of a difference, surprisingly. Maybe the lighting is just too good. The one thing that does stand out to me is the texture on that building where it says inland imaging. I actually see the little horizontal cutouts in the concrete of the building, whereas it's kind of smeared on the Smart HDR mode. But either way, this is a very minimal difference in this scenario. Now let's go ahead and jump back inside where the lighting is a little bit worse. And here we see a shot of Vadim. Both of them look great, but I can definitely tell, even without cropping in, that especially like on the hair and on the face and a little bit on the shirt, we do have more details. I'm guessing even on a smartphone, you're gonna be able to tell the difference here. So we have more texture on the shirt, in the pores of his face, and in the little hair on his eyebrows. It really pops. Even his eyes, you can see the texture in the eyes, and along with that, not only do we get more detail, but also the color is more vibrant. Before I show you when Deep Fusion becomes ineffective, let me give a shout out to our sponsor, Squarespace. I've built many websites using Squarespace and have been recommending them for over 5 years now. And I've tried making websites from scratch, using custom templates and different platforms, and Squarespace is by far my most recommended method. Whether you want to build a portfolio site, e-commerce, blog, or anything else, they have got you covered with great cross-platform designs to choose from and built-in security certificates and SEO tools. This means that your website will rank much better in searches, and that's all included for one low price, meaning that Squarespace is not only easy to use and fantastic looking, but an amazing value as well. Head to squarespace.com/maxtech for a no credit card required trial and to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. This one is with the standard lens, and I actually had to add more light into the scene because the camera app was going into night mode. So if night mode is enabled, that means Deep Fusion will not be working, and it seems like with the standard lens, it is a lot more sensitive. So it goes into night mode more often and also into the standard HDR, Smart HDR mode. So with the standard lens, you probably just see less benefit from Deep Fusion, as we have seen, so it doesn't go into that mode more often. So here, when I go ahead and punch in, you do see some extra details in the hair and in the skin, a little bit in the shirt as well, more texture from the shirts, but it's not as dramatic of a difference compared to the telephoto lens. Now we have another shot here. This is also the telephoto lens, and at a glance, I'm not seeing that much of a difference on my monitor, but if we punch in, there is quite a bit of a difference here, especially where we have all the optical stabilization, the little switches. Now, before I show you the comparison shots between the iPhone 11 Pro with Deep Fusion and the Note 10 Plus with its own scene optimization mode, episode, let me explain how to know if diffusion is actually working. First off, you have to go into the camera app and make sure that the setting under composition, which is called photos captured outside the frame, make sure that is toggled off, because if it's turned on, it's gonna be taking multiple photos and using the power of the A13 to do that instead of using the diffusion technique. So if that is toggled off, right after you take the image, you wanna make sure, go and click that little photo icon to go into your photo roll, and you will notice that after about 1 to 2 seconds, the image will actually kind of like glitch. It's almost like a glitch in the Matrix or something like that. So every time I took a diffusion photo, I clicked it, I watched it, and I saw those glitches show up. Sometimes it's more dramatic than other times, so you have to make sure you're looking for it, but you will see that shift. So at this time, that is the only way to know if diffusion is working. Now let's take a look at these comparison shots between the Samsung and the iPhone. We're gonna start out with a shot of this projector, and right away, without cropping in, I see a pretty big difference. First off, the color on the wall, much more vibrant. So it doesn't look so flat as it does with the Note. Along with that, the texture of the wall really comes out, and the texture of the projector itself, it's definitely noticeable. Now, if I crop in, the difference is substantial. First off, the dimples on the reel are much more visible. We have a lot more detail in general. Second, the embossed text on the film reel is much more visible. So at the very top, you can't see anything actually on the Note 10 shot. It looks like it's just smeared out. I can't make out that there's any text there at all. Now, I wanna say that the Note 10 is not a bad camera, especially in the telephoto lens shots or portrait shots. It does a really good job with a lot of detail. But with this technique, combining multiple photos and then going up to 24 megapixel and then crunching all that down, you see the results there. That is doing a really good job. Now let's switch to the standard lens. This is the 26 millimeter. And I'm not seeing that much of a difference right away. The texture of the wall, I do see it's a little bit better on the iPhone, and the plaque looks a little bit better. But if we go and zoom in a bit, that is dramatic. So first off, on my YouTube 100,000 subscriber plaque, the Note 10 Plus has no texture at all whatsoever. It looks like a solid piece of aluminum with maybe some faded text that you can't read at all. Whereas on the iPhone, we see the texture of that brushed stainless steel. On the lens, we have the actual texture of the lens cap, which you cannot see with the shot from the Note 10. And all of our switches, you can actually make out the text, and it's nice and contrasty, whereas on the Note 10, it's kind of smeared out. And we just have more detail in the shadows just all along. This is a massive difference in this shot as well. And this is when decent lighting as well, with all the lights turned on in this room. So there you guys have it, our first look at diffusion with the new iOS developer beta. So I really hope that they keep improving on this. It's already a pretty good difference, but they can probably make it better. And I really hope that they at least give us some indication, maybe a little icon where the night mode icon shows up, or something else, or maybe in the options or the XF data. I would love to be able to know instead of having to go into the camera roll right away and wait for that little glitch in the Matrix to be able to see what is going on. So thank you guys for watching. This has been Max with Max Tech. Click above to subscribe and down below to enable notifications. If you guys want to see more videos, we have some great videos right over there. This has been Max with Max Tech, and I will see you in the next video.